Good morning. Good morning to you. I hope that you're there with me this morning. I think that I'm live. Let's find out. All right. Put that up. Tell everybody good morning. See what's going on. Gosh darn it, man. I'll tell you what. I'm going to wait till anybody gets on here. I'm going to wait a few minutes. I was outside grounding this morning. The sun is so bright and so beautiful. It's really, really a pretty morning outside. So I hope it is for you too. And my nose is itching. You know, that tells me something. It tells me my guides are going to be bugging me to say something today. Take a couple of deep breaths. Take some deep breaths with me. Let's do that. Let's kind of ground, shake it off for a second. I'm all tingly for some reason. My nose is itching and I'm tingling real bad, so I know that Spirit has something to say. They wanted me to pull some cards last night, and I jacked with my camera, and I messed with the timing on it, and so it automatically saved its energy, shut off after 10 or 15 minutes. So good morning to you, Sheila. Good morning, love. How you doing? Good to see you always. So my camera shut off in the middle of my podcast last night with you. But I kept going because I knew the audio was still going because I could tell. And my lens cover closed. That was also the other big clue that my camera was no longer on. So, oh, shoot. You know, if it's going to happen, at least it was in the evening time, just hanging out, testing everything. So it's all right. It was a good test. Good morning, Patricia. I got it all taken care of. But they wanted me to pull some cards, and so I'm going to pull 3 cards this morning from the Sacred Vision Oracle deck. This is by Lynn Andrews and Robert Taylor. It's a beautiful deck, and this has a lot to do, in my opinion. You know, how closely we are connected to the earth. You know how closely we're connected. Cards remind us of that connection. Sheila said, good, cloudy and rainy, but you're supposed to get some sun later. That's okay. It's all right. You know, you got to have the rain. And it's July. Pretty soon the faucet will shut off and we'll be out, where the heck's the rain? It hasn't rained for 3 weeks. We're in a drought. And then it'll start raining again. So it's just part of the seasons. And I tell you what, part of the seasons, can't even say that anymore, really, and be honest about it, because the seasons aren't the seasons anymore. I was listening to a podcast, and I don't know what it was. I'm sure it was YouTube, and it was probably Mr. MBB333. And it was probably him, but I'm not going to say for sure. I better not positively state that. Anyway, somebody said that the jet stream, and we're talking about the jet stream and how it used to be this beautiful flow. And I remember recognizing the jet stream when I was young. You know, we didn't always have radar. And the weather maps used to be little pictures, you know, little cutouts that they would sticker to the board. Tell you it's going to be sunshiny here today, a little bit of cloud and rain down here. And slap the stickers on them. I remember that. And anyway, when they started showing satellite pictures, or they started describing the jet stream as they understood the weather system, the weather patterns, as they began to understand that they can track them and map them and soon take pictures of them and see them. And it used to just be this beautiful flow, like a river. I mean, it was nice. Went across the United States, right in the middle. Kansas City was always right there on the jet stream, so we were always right there in that circle of storms every season, and it was very cyclical. It was much a cycle. And then somewhere along the line, and I don't know when, but I recognized when it happened, probably in the late 90s maybe, when the jet stream started acting kind of wonky. But then really about 2006, 2008, it seems like is when it started to get really crazy. And now, instead of going these extreme highs and then these deep dips and then, big snake-like movements across our map, now it's going in these spiky, quick movements, up and down, up and down. And so, I'm sure that has to do with the magnetosphere. I'm sure that it is, because it looks like magnetic waves. If you've ever seen a program where they have shown the oscillation waves of magnetism, and the different strengths of magnets do different waves, and that's just what the jet stream looks like. And so it only makes sense to me that if our magnetosphere is diminished as much as I believe it is, which is very significant, that it only makes sense, and our poles, our magnetic poles are shifting, and they're really moving, except they're not moving this way that you would think. They're moving more like this. They're moving more like a pancake. They're coming together. They're not staying an even width apart. And that's even creepier. So it only makes sense. It only makes sense that the jet streams would be doing that right now to me. And so we can't depend on the weather. We can't depend on the seasonal normals that there used to be. The cycles are jacked up. And I have to prove that by showing you these videos and these pictures that I took. It didn't humble me, because when you get humbled, you're grateful. I was not even awestruck, can't even be the right word, because awestruck to me is something that gives you vision. And wow, a big wow. This was oh my God, it's still like this? There's still this much, there are still towns underwater just off the interstate? The big news around here was that the interstate opened up. And then it seemed like the news quit after that. The news quit. It's flooded twice in that same area. Same area been hit twice. And when I spoke with the sheriff, he said it's happened in 93, it happened in 2011, and it's happening again. This is the new norm. Our bread basket is broken. Those are his words. Our bread basket is broken. Couldn't believe what he said. But he was so right. He was so right. And it really saddens me how many of those people are just absolutely wiped out. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It takes my breath away. It really does. It takes my breath away. So, I got all these videos, and I didn't get a lot of video, but I got good video. And not even great video, because going down the highway, there were no exits, and I-29 is a busy highway. So pulling off on the side of the road to videotape is not a safe thing to do. There were no safe areas to pull over, or I would have just thrown a temper tantrum and bitched a fit until my husband pulled over so I could videotape the miles of water. It looks like a lake. It looks like a lake. A brand new lake. It's not a deep lake, but that lake goes on for miles. And we only went as far north as Rock Creek, about 20 miles south of Nebraska. And we couldn't go any farther west than a quarter of a mile from the highway. That's no joke. We took a road, an access road, for a couple of miles, maybe 3 miles. But that road ended up flooded in water. And that road, according to the sheriff, had been washed over It had only recently reopened. And you could see that too. There was so much debris, like field debris, a lot of corn cobs and corn stalks. But that stuff's thick. If you've ever seen a cornfield after the corn has been harvested, and it's thick and it's heavy. It's like cane or bamboo, the stalks. And so they're all soaked up with water. It's crazy, and it's so sad, and it's so scary. And I really think that the only way that we're going to get a good idea of how bad it is from the air. I really do. I think somebody would have to get a private plane and fly over and do videos that way and say this is what it looks like still. Or drone footage. Drone footage would be great. Maybe that's what I could do, get with my nephew or somebody that's got a drone and go up there and get some drone footage of the devastation, because it's still devastated. And there are pockets of beautiful corn growing, but it's the size that you would take to a farmer's market on a weekend and it would be sold. The plots, you could harvest those plots by hand if you had to. That's on the west side. On the east side of I-29, it's elevated, it's higher up. Even though parts of the west side of I-29 were affected, most of it was not, because the hills begin very abruptly. It's crazy. It's crazy. So the east side of the highway is good. I don't know about farther north, because we didn't go farther north, so I don't know about all of it. I know that the lands get a lot flatter in Nebraska and Kansas. And all that water that's still standing, I got footage of the Missouri River. The Missouri River is still within feet from overflowing its banks once again. And it's moving fast. And it's still carrying debris down. And when you go across a river in an area that's swollen, it's had a lot of rain, the rivers are coming up. You can tell that the rivers are still coming up because of the debris in the middle. If you see a lot of logs and limbs and trees and crap in the middle of the river, the water's still rising. You don't really see that the water's going down until the debris starts laying more against the sides of the banks. And the water levels drop, of course. But there's still debris in the river. Not a lot, just, little twigs and stuff here and there. So it's still high up north. It's not as wide as the Mississippi, but it's still a good-sized river. I wouldn't want to swim it on a good day. So, Sheila's getting rain. And I know a lot of Pennsylvania, a lot of the East Coast, the eastern area, the lakes are getting a lot of crazy storms. We've had some crazy storms around here, but for some reason that heat bubble of Kansas City kind of helped knock them north of us. But I've seen them form on the radar, and I saw two storms come together. They were wrapping up this way, and they just joined, made one big huge storm for an instant, and then floated off. It was crazy. So, anyway, not a whole lot of people with us this morning, Sheila. I'm glad that you're with me, though, and that's fine. I'm going to pull 3 cards from the Sacred Visions Oracle deck, because, pardon me, I took my Claritin this morning. I've been taking Claritin. Sometimes I take a Tylenol sinus decongestant to go with it. But not every day. Today I felt pretty clear, but I took a Claritin, and I do think I feel better with them. I'm not as coughy, not as croupy. What am I doing? Okay, Sheila, think of a number, and I'll see if I can't pull it out for you.